Jesus said, "Man cannot live on bread alone, but from every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." You're listening to Daily Truth.
And lastly, we do not covet. David says, "The lines have fallen for me in pleasant places." And David is essentially saying this. He's saying, I don't just salute the attribute of the sovereignty of God, but I actually honor God as sovereign by rejoicing in his sovereign providence as it plays out in my life. The lines for me have fallen in pleasant places, meaning what the Lord has chosen to give to me, that I am content with. I'm not bitter towards God. I don't subconsciously indict God as doing something that was unjust. I don't look at my neighbor and say, he has something that I don't have, and God got it wrong. God did injustice. God did something that was unfair. I should have this, and my neighbor should not. We do not covet, that means that we are content, but it also means that we do not accuse God of injustice. That's what coveting does. Coveting is a subtle accusation against the just God of committing injustice. Remember the parable that Jesus tells of the workers who are called out to labor in the vineyard. Some come and they bear the heat of the day. 12 hours they labor. And then others come throughout the day, and some come for the very last hour. And when the master comes and the day's labor is finished, he comes to pay all of the servants who worked and labored in his vineyard. And he starts with those who came last, with those who only worked for the final hour, and he gives them 1 denarius. And he agreed with all the workers, including those who came in the morning, and they bore the brunt of the labor and the heat of the sun. And he made an agreement with all of them, including the first workers, that he would give them a day's wages, which in that culture was a denarius. But he starts with those who worked the least. And so those who came earlier thought, maybe our wages will be increased. If these guys only worked an hour and they get a denarius, surely we'll get twice that, 3 times, maybe 10 times that amount. And when the master goes down the line and finally pays, grants the wages to those workers who worked the longest, he gives to them what they agreed upon. 1 denarius. And they begin to grumble and complain, thinking, we did more work, we deserve more. And he says, friends, you agreed to work for this amount. I'm not robbing you. You getting 1 denarius is not me robbing you. Me giving 1 denarius to those who only worked for an hour is me being generous. We look to others around us, and if they've received something that we haven't, we assume in our sin that God has robbed us. God has robbed no one, because all that God owes you is hell. And anything beyond that is generosity and grace. And the master in this parable says, I have not wronged you. Do I not have the right to be generous with what is mine? This is not theft towards you, but rather my generosity towards them. Coveting is to deny that principle. Coveting is to deny the generosity of God. Rather than seeing God as generous to those who do not deserve it, we view God as a robber towards us, and in our arrogance, we think that we do deserve. So we do not covet.
Wait. Real quick, before you go, do me a favor. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell so you'll be notified with all our new content as it comes out on a daily basis. And if you're willing to support this ministry, you can do so by going to rightresponseministries.com/donate. Thanks so much. God bless.